Well, what can you do about that one? Hard fought game against the Minnesota Lynx, best team in the league. While Nafisa Collar was not in the lineup, this team has proved they are more than capable of winning without her, as they showed tonight. Hell of a third quarter for them, as you know the Fever's offense just kind of went flat. Then they give up a 12-point lead. And I imagine this did not sit well with lots of you. I was kind of just watching and just seeing, like, man, the offense is just dying and dying and dying. And it just feels like they don't have enough firepower. This team has been decimated. It's an understatement at this point by, the amount of injuries that have, gone down with the squad. And, the team is what the team is at this moment. I don't know. I can't really be like so upset over this one because, even though they did have that 12-point lead, at some point that talent is going to even out, man. Like, and when Jessica Shepard pretty much goes all time in the way that she did and just kicked whoever was guarding her's ass all night, you're not going to win. Lexi Hull came out in fuego, on fire in the first half. I believe she dropped maybe 18 points in the first half of the game. Her three-point shot was going down. Everything she touched pretty much was, going up, and she ended up with a career high of 23 points. Now, I don't know if we can expect that every night, but with Sophie Cunningham out of the lineup, there are going to be more shots open, and if Lexi can, hit some of those and bring her scoring up, a lot more than, some of those games where she was, just giving us either nothing or, 2 points, that little rough stretch she had. She can get about halfway to that 23, she can be counted on for maybe like 16 a game at this point, because you're going to get the chances. I think that, that bodes well for the Fever. The Fever, dropped to 19-17 on the season. Kelsey Mitchell had 27 points, and I definitely wanted to talk about the MVP shirts that, the coaching staff was wearing. You saw Caitlin Clark wearing the coaching staff shirts, as the Indiana Fever have kind of officially launched kind of an MVP campaign for Kelsey Mitchell. I think Kelsey's been awesome, putting a lot on her shoulders this year, and I think this is definitely a way to at least shut up most of the bad faith people when they say, well, Kelsey Mitchell needs to be talked about more. A lot of the stuff last year where they're trying to split the team up and basically, just basically use Kelsey Mitchell to, dump on Caitlin Clark. I do question of why the Fever, though, like I have no problem with them supporting, Kelsey Mitchell. She's been like the star player this year, much of the season while Caitlin's been out. She's, having an incredible scoring year and, just been the heartbeat kind of this team and the offense in Caitlin's absence. My question would be like, last year when Caitlin Clark ended up finishing top 4 in the MVP, and there was like a time in those last 2 weeks where it looked like she definitely could have commanded votes. I won't say, she was the MVP or anything like that, but at that point you're just trying to, drum up interest, right? And, I don't know if they felt like it would be controversial, to try to stir things up, as Asia Wilson pretty much had a God-given birthright to the MVP award, at the beginning of last year, and then proved it throughout the season. So shout out to her. But it was almost like it was blasphemous to mention anyone else. And for the Fever, I'll give you the answer what I think it is why they didn't do that, because with Caitlin Clark, I think they're scared of their own shadow. They're really kind of afraid to, to embrace her in that way, to pump her up in that way. And they're trying not to step on toes, so to speak. Do I think, if Caitlin was in the lineup all this year and she was having, pretty much a season like last year, that, they would have MVP shirts for her? I'm not sure about that because, like I said, I feel like there's this hesitancy from the organization to really just stand in who they are at this point. They've been so decimated by injury. The identity for this team has changed. I feel like subtly. I feel like it's become this almost never say die team. You're not supposed to be here anyway at this point, and anything that you give at this point should be appreciated because you're so outgunned seemingly. But that's a world of difference from the championship expectations that this team came into the season with. So the Kelsey MVP campaign in my estimation kind of is this, acknowledgement in a way of what their current reality is as this team stands just so broken up by injury. It's not a championship thing or bust. It's like this individual award to kind of, just recognize this player that has been a part of this organization for years and years and years and, flew under the radar because the team stunk. Never really won anything. Was an all-star, but learned to touch the playoffs with the arrival of Caitlin Clark last year. Again, I don't have an issue with Stephanie White wearing the shirts. Caitlin Clark's clearly telling you she doesn't have an issue with it. I would just wonder if the Fever would promote Caitlin Clark in the same way because I don't feel like the answer is yes on that. And I feel like I should 100% know that it would be yes. They would absolutely, put their player all over everything, but I don't know, man. Aaliyah Boston woke up in the fourth quarter, but it was too little too late. Shea Petty basically came in and announced that, she's here now. 3 3-pointers off the bench. Ended up playing 21 minutes for the night. Odyssey Sims, another 21 minutes. Only had 4 points. Not as, effective as she was on Sunday. But, among those 5 players injured now is Chloe Bibby, someone that a lot of us have, come to appreciate her contributions to the team, her unique skills as far as stretching the floor as a big person. And came down with some type of knee injury, and she was not in the lineup today. So it was, it was pretty rough off the bench, man. You only had 9 available players. You had Bree Turner playing 20 minutes, and when you've reached that level, you're decimated. Timpson barely got in the game as, some of the new additions were basically getting plugged in and out the lineup. Lexi Hull plays 37 minutes because she was playing so well. You just had to leave her in there at that point. But not a one of them could stop Kayla McBride, who just showed up to Indiana and decided, I'm just going to be A1 completely on fire. There was nothing that they could do with her. Every shot that came off her hands felt like it was going in, and she hit 4 threes, 10 of 19, 29 points. And, when it comes to scoring, Kayla McBride can do it almost as good as anybody in the league when she's going. But that Jessica Shepard triple-double plays the whole game. 22, 11, and 11, 10 of 11 from the field. It's almost as close to a perfect game as you can get if she didn't miss so many damn free throws. Just abusing the low post players around her. Making plays. Dejanay Carrington, a smooth 4 points. -10 for the evening. Didn't see much time. Only 14 minutes for her. 2 points for Courtney Williams. Natisha Heidemann, the stud buzz, dropped 17 off the bench. They were in the second night of a back-to-back, so I think they were, leaning on some of the reserves like Heidemann. But, man, as far as the Fever go with this one, it just kind of seems like they're holding on for dear life. I can't really judge them too harshly for losing this game. You never like to see a 12-point lead blown, when you get off to such a fire start in the first half, but shot makers are going to make shots at the end of the day. Bridget Carlton made a big shot at the end of the game to ice it. Like I said, Kayla McBride was on fire the whole game. And you see Jessica Shepard has a game of her life as well. It's just going to be hard at this point. But I'm not going to be too broke up over this one because the Lynx are, it's hard to beat them with Collier. It's hard to beat them without Collier. I know they handled them in the Commissioner's Cup, so the Lynx probably came in we're not dropping another one to this team. And quite frankly, this team they played tonight isn't the team they played at the Commissioner's Cup even. There's no Aaron McDonald in the lineup, so it's just all over the place. And any win that the Indiana Fever get at this point, if you're a Fever fan, I feel like you should really cherish at this point because I think it's going to go a lot more like this as they battle through this MASH unit, essentially, that they're going to war with. But anyway, what did you guys think of this game? What did you guys think of the Kelsey Mitchell MVP shirts, the subsequent campaign? Do you think they would have supported Caitlin Clark in that same way? Let me know. I'll holler at y'all in the comments. This is Rich. Peace. One lifetime.